Welcome everyone to HR Bold and Unfiltered. Today we have Archna Bhardwaj with us, a very senior leader in HR. Ma'am, could you please introduce yourself a little bit and where did you start your journey and when?
Really happy to be here today with all of you. How I know you, I must also tell and introduce our learners about each one of you. I got to meet all of you while I was still part of KPMG and was, being one of the mentors there with Master Union, and you guys were all there as my learners. So I'm extremely happy that you are doing this, and I'm looking forward that one day HRVerse will be as strong and as powerful as some of the HR forums that we have. Saying this, extremely excited. Have around 18 years of experience with me. I started off working with a company called Bank of America. Worked there for a very long time. Although long time in your generation, which is around 2.5 years for me too.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. Worked there, then joined another organization which was again IT services. Worked again there. Took some breaks for my personal life because for me, integration between a personal life and professional life was extremely important, and to balance it out. Did that. Joined another organization called IBM. Worked there for some time again. Came back to Delhi. It was all in Hyderabad, Bangalore. Came back to Delhi, joined an organization called Click Software, which was then taken over by Salesforce. Left that, joined a company named Engineer.ai, which is basically a startup in the space of AI, artificial intelligence as we call it today. Left that again very quickly. 5 months. 5 months. 5 months. Left that again and joined another company called Interglobe Air Transport. And must say, experience there had been extremely rewarding. But I wanted to see how a consulting work works, how a consulting world is different than a normal industry, HR industry. So joined KPMG, worked there again for some time. Yeah, a very long time as per the generation that we are in, or you guys are in. That's the Gen Z definition. Worked there for some time and then left that. So right now I'm in transition, which is very rare because typically how does it happen? Most of the people or most of the professionals that you talk, or the corporate journeys that we see around, people generally want to have a continuum as a professional.
Right.
But sometimes it's also important to take a certain break, realign your priorities, look at what you really want to do, and then get back to something which you thoroughly enjoy. Saying this, of course, I'll be joining somewhere else, but as of now, taking a break. Also, working with a lot of other organizations which are basically into skill development, working towards EWS, BPL families, and trying to basically drive my passion and find my ikakai and contribute back to this society. So that's what I am currently doing. But yeah, very soon. So that's a long answer to a short question that you had.
So that was hell of a journey, ma'am, and you appear to be a Gen Z of your generation, I would say, right?
I'm taking that as a compliment.
It is.
Yes, you are, because we looked up your LinkedIn and the amount of time you spent in a company, it's like 5 months or 1 year and then you move on. Like, what is motivation behind that?
So, very, very interesting question, and it kind of tells me also to reflect back to the choices I've made. I had been typically, when I look at Gen Z, how I look at Gen Z, that if there is a purpose which is given to the Gen Z, you guys work towards achieving that. If there is anything which is not purpose driven, I really don't see that you will get ever motivated to do it. I think that in that sense, of course, I am also a Gen Z, but yeah, not in age. If I look at my journey, wherever I've worked or wherever I've joined, I always enjoyed what I was doing. And the moment I realize I'm not enjoying it, I generally leave that place. generally. And also some of the decisions that I made were also based on the personal choices I had. I just attended a conference and we were talking about work life balance, and someone made a very interesting statement and said that it is not the balance that we are looking at. We are looking at integration between a work and life, and that has to happen. And for me, my personal life had been extremely important. There had been a lot of breaks where I've taken because of family concern, because of the kids I wanted to have. And as Indra Noy said one time, she said, "Can women have it all?" And I really want to also now, since you have asked this question, also go back and analyze that statement that they might not, but then whatever you, wherever juncture you are in life, just enjoy that moment and have fun. I think that had been my journey so far, and perhaps yes, in your terms, then.
So talking about can women have it all? So when we say about that, and we talk about gender equality also.
Correct.
So do you think we are on the way, or have we achieved it already in the corporate?
I don't think so, because there is a huge gap between what we see today, and if I can take some examples, because I'm working very closely with some of the girls who come from who are actually BTechs right now. I've been associated with one organization who are BTech basically, and they are all from STEM, as they say, women in STEM, right? Science, technology, engineering and mathematics, correct? So there is a huge gap still in that understanding, because there are a lot of statements which are made today where people say that women, oh, it's maths, women can't do maths. Oh, it's science, can you really do science? You better take up arts and do B.Ed or M.Ed. Just create. Oh, why? It's so difficult to have a work and also to raise children. Why don't you become a teacher? And I'm not saying those choices didn't come to me. But then I think I was very rebellious to go out and think out of the box and then take something up which was very different than what my generations would have done so far. That's one part. Second, when I try to answer the question that did we really make it to the level where women have equal partnership within the corporate world, I'm not saying that we have made that still, but I'm sure we are heading towards it.
Right.
At least the part of the problem is to analyze if there is a problem. Right. So sorry, the part of the problem, part of solving any problem is to analyze there is a problem. So at least now we realize that there is a problem, which is all about understanding that the women participation in the corporate world is very limited. So I think now organizations realize it, and hence there is so much talk around diversity.
Right.
There is so much, every organization, most good organizations or larger or bigger organizations or even smaller organizations per se, they have diversity and inclusion specialists or managers who are driving this agenda only. Correct? So I think a lot had been done in this space.
Can we get the credit to Gen Z also, because they are very outspoken about all these things and they are very passionate about equality and everything. So
Correct.
can the credit be go to Gen Z?
Why not? I think Gen Z is what I feel about Gen Z is that what is here is same.
Yeah.
And what is here also, right? Whatever they think, they feel, they say. And I think that is all because of the fact that they are very confident about what they know. They are very confident about the fact that if they don't know something, they will go back to sources and they learn about it. They don't hesitate from learning from someone. So that is a big thing. And why not? I think the way women are raised today is very different than the way women were raised earlier. Women today has reached a transformational journey in which they go out and they ask those questions which are very relevant for them. Correct? Don't you guys feel that way? Since you guys belong to Gen Z, what are your views around it? Ria, what do you feel about this?
Gen Z is like, being from Gen Z, I'm very vocal. I know what I want and what I don't want.
Correct.
I've been to interviews and I've been very, vocal that I'm not gonna work 6 days a week.
Perfect.
I'm gonna be only 5 days, and when it's office are done, I'm not gonna be picking up calls. That's my family time. That's
Very
my
nice.
personal time. So I have heard backlash on my interviews as well for that particular thing, but I guess it's just me. I
No,
need work-life balance.
Absolutely, and I think organization have started adjusting to this.
True. They have, actually, they have.
They have. So I think that is the big thing. If you have to induct Gen Z in corporate world, they need to adjust to the demands that they have. Absolutely.
I think like people like some of us, like I do that. Like if interview asks me a question that are you flexible working like this? So for the sake of getting the job, we will say yes, I will do this, just because we want
Yes,
that
sir,
job.
yes,
And
Yes.
sir, yes sir. So what do you think? Like should we? I think so, it brings on the bad impact on myself, whatever I'm saying. So I think I do that. I do that. I think it's wrong or right. I don't know. I'm sorry. Sorry.
So Gurpreet, what do you feel? Do you think that things have changed? Perhaps what you would have seen 10 years back, you would have spoken to your seniors or people
I think that's
around you.
recently my brother also works as an HR. He's a deputy general manager. So he has been hiring a lot since last 10-15 years. So recently he was hiring for an executive HR. So the demands he received from that. So he called me at night and, dude, you Gen Z people, I don't understand, because he's from a small company, not a big structured company. So he was like, dude, the demands he had, that I will only work 5 days and I need 2 days work from home also. So these demands, I mean, he obviously started to cater to them also, but it was very new for them. For a lot of companies, it is very new. So yeah, I mean, the companies have started evolving also, but still, I think there's a long way to go, Abhi. For Gen Z, and now the Gen Alpha coming. So that is something that they will be more exciting to see in the corporate.
I'm
We
scared of
will
them.
be adjusting for those.
Absolutely.
And that was like recruiting part of it, getting hired. But when we talk about promotions and being able to get to the top of the management, or I'm sorry, I'm just
As senior positions.
yeah. So is it really important to be in good books of your bosses and just do the ji huzuri, sir, I'll do this, I'll do that, and get to the top by doing that, or is it really hard works that we should do?
The
What do you
very
think?
very interesting question, and I'll speak from my heart.
Yeah.
Okay, about this. So and I'm going to ask you guys what you feel about this. Okay, what experiences you would have had till now. Okay. But if I'll tell you, I think what is important is, first of all, I should know what are my core values. Right? If I am very sure about what are my core values, for me, if I have an agenda that doesn't matter, even if I do my work, but I know how to pacify my boss, or do whatever, in local terms as we call it, buttering, whatever you do for your bosses, and that makes the person happy. If my core value is aligned with it, I would not mind doing it, right? However, if my core value, or the way I am being trained or raised, or the way I have seen people or seniors in front of me, the people I admire, if I would have seen some real strong characters around me while I was starting my career in the industry, I would not take it lying down. Correct. I'll have my own say. I'll exactly know what I'm bringing to table, and once I am sure of what I bring to the organization, what is it that drives me to do better for the organization, till the time I'm thinking about the organization and meeting the standards of the organization. I don't think you are required to do any kind of buttering or any kind of pacifying to any of your seniors. But saying this, building relationships are extremely important. That I would not deny. I would not say that you know your work. Everyone knows their work, but there is no harm in meeting up people who can be your probable mentors. It is important to build that setup. Extremely important. Why? Because in corporate, it is, you never know. Especially if I talk about HR. In HR, generally, the positions are not published. You generally go by word of mouth. You reach out to people who you know in the industry and say if there is a position open for you. And senior level, that's how hiring is being done. Unless and until you build that relationship with people, it becomes extremely difficult to get positions. And I'm not saying that involves you to go down on your values. I'm just trying to say that have an open mind around building relationships, and there will be people that you would not like. It's okay, move on. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
There is a very simple thing: change, otherwise change.
I heard that, but in a different context.
Change, otherwise change. Right?
Yeah. No, that is correctly said, ma'am. But what about the unconscious biasness? Like sometimes
I
we
also
overlook the skills, and then and there are some people who just actually works, and some are pretenders. They pretend to work.
Yes.
So
Yes.
there's, I mean, people don't look at that. I think like hard workers. What my experience is, they always lag behind, and people who do buttering, they go on the top. And unconscious biasness is other factor to
I
that.
also think when there's a competition, so you sometimes just get tagged that he must be buttering to get promoted.
Yeah.
Maybe you are hardworking,
Yes.
but
yes.
the other competition that may not be promoted,
Correct.
they will tag you that he must be buttering or pacifying the boss or something like that. He must be giving gifts, yeah, dinner pe le ja raha hoga. So these things also happen, I believe.
I think peer competition, correct.
Peer competition also happens. Even
Do you have any such examples now where you can share, like, because you have worked in a lot of organizations, so if you can quote any example where such thing happens, and
See,
how do
those
you
things happen
overcome
across. I'm not saying that I was not part of such things or such biasness didn't happen. And could be the very fact that perhaps I was biased towards looking at someone. Who knows?
Yeah.
Perhaps I was someone who was at fault and looked at someone and said, Arey, this person must be doing things which are not required but still doing because he or she wants a next promotion or a next salary hike. I never know, right? But saying that, what I really believe that it all depends upon the leadership. It all depends upon the kind of seniors that you get around.
Right.
So the only thing you can do about that is pray to God that you get a
good manager.
that you get a good manager. See, your managers make or break your career.
Right.
Simply put.
How they look at you is very important.
Correct.
Yeah.
So there should be someone, as they say, there should be someone who can talk about you while you are not present in that room.
In a
And
good
talk
way.
good.
In a good way.
Correct. And talk good. Correct. There should be. So in corporate life there are three terms that we use. One is promoter, another one is neutral, and the third is negators. So generally promoters are people who talk high about you. You want maximum promoters to be there for you
Right.
if you really want that progression to happen. Provided you are clear about your core values, you align with the thoughts of your seniors. Sometimes the seniors are also not wrong. Sometimes the way we perceive seniors are wrong. Correct? So with time that maturity comes in. And I have had, when I started off my career, I'll give you one example. I got a boss who was very difficult. Very difficult. He was someone who will tell me to correct my presentations like multiple times. And I was same with my, you pick up my team.
It passes on.
Pick up my team. If you talk to anyone from my ex team, you will realize that I have made them do things multiple number of times. But something which is extremely important, and I've seen that with my boss at that time. I did not like him for that, but he was so nice when the final outcome came. I realized that I would not have made something like this if he would have selected it the first time. Right? And and I have so much respect for this guy today. So much respect.
He pushed you to that.
He pushed me to that.
Right.
There is, I don't remember the school, but there is a design school, art school in which the professors actually come to class. And they will ask you to draw something. The first 10 drawings, they will just rip that apart and throw it away.
Ask them to make better.
And they'll say, oh, this is not good, this is not good, this is not good. And when you will make the 11th, you will realize, oh my God, is this something that I made? And that is important, because as leaders, what is important is that if you have two people, one who is not pushing to the limits, one who is just doing whatever minimal that they need to do. But if you see that there is someone who has a lot of potential and can push the limits up, why not? Why not? Let's push this person to do better.
We don't realize at that time. No? We hate the person at the time. That why again?
Correct.
But later on, we realize that, oh God, this has happened.
So the thing is, Gurpreet, every time you don't live that much, as Osho says, that you don't live that much to make so many mistakes.
Right.
So sometimes learn from other people's mistakes.
एक गलती करते पीछे
Correct.
छोड़ दी।
So understand that there are leaders, provided you respect that person, and that leader is there for you to do better. What is the intent? At the end of the day, intent
Intent is
matters, right?
That's true.
I think we need to look for leaders now, not the company.
Correct.
I mean, just look for the leaders and join their company. Yeah.
Talking
Because
about-
I haven't met any such leaders.
You will. You're very, very young. You will.
Compliment. You got a compliment.
The fact
No, I know. I'm young.
So, talking about the art school and the peer competition, there's one thing which is a demanding but healthy work environment, and then there's toxic culture. So, how can we, distinguish between it? How do you think we can differentiate?
Okay, so tell me one thing, and this is very common on LinkedIn today, that when in the morning when you get up, like, Monday morning when you get up, if you feel like going to office, that means the culture is good. Right?
That's true.
So if you are happy about going to what you do, if you are enjoying what you are doing, even if you have to work 18, 20 or 24/7 for that work, you would not mind.
Right.
Right? Today we are here on a Saturday in the evening when we could have enjoyed a match between India and Pakistan. Right? We are still sitting here and talking.
Right.
What this says, you tell me. Is this toxic that you had been pushed to do something on a Saturday?
That's
No.
something that actually got me out of bed in the morning today.
Exactly.
She went on shopping. And then she-
See, so I think that is important, right? So that clearly defines, right? And so Ria, like we were discussing, I have a question for perhaps all three of you. If you have to join, and whoever would like to answer, and Ria, since we were talking with you, if you have to pick up an organization which is big, like a big multinational or a very structured organization, in comparison with a setup which is smaller, a startup kind of a setup, which one will be your preference, and why do you think? Because for me it is important to understand that from a Gen Z perspective, if I can put it.
Personally, for me, I would be focusing more on startups, since I have this POV ki startup would be giving you more exposure. Like, since it's in a growing stage,
Yeah.
so you have to work here and there, not just a particular TA. You'll be
Yeah.
working in employee engagement here and there. So personally, for me, it's a startup.
No, for me, I would go for MNC. Why? Because startups, I will always have this in mind that do they have funds? Do they have enough funds to provide salary? And I'm at the stage where I need money as well, but learning as well. So MNCs, I know they would be a lot of competition there to go on top, but as a starting point, as a fresher, I would go for MNCs.
Wow. Okay.
Is
Gurpreet?
that-
Yeah, so I mean, since I was a kid, I heard that you should get into brands. You you work hard, you learn hard, get good degree, and get into brand. Good company would hire you. So that has set up in my mind. So initially, I started my career with small companies though, but now. I actually, before this company that I'm currently working with, I had joined 2 startups.
Okay.
But then I went there and I didn't see some good culture also. They were also very new to the industry,
yeah.
like 3-4 years ago, which is a very new firms. So they were also setting up, and then I had seen some movies and shows, the big culture, the shoe shop, the companies, and then I was like, I'm not feeling it. The vibe is not here. And then I got an offer from this company, and it was a brand. And I went there, so it was a culturally very new for me. So now I am going to look for brands only for now. But yeah, I am open to startups also. Some good names in the industry that coming up now. I am open to them. I am open to both of these basically.
Yeah, in today's generation, there's a lot of startups and they just come and they just go out of business like in no time. So that's really scary. So for a stability,
Yeah,
I
stability is
think
also
brands
important. I mean,
and-
they have this stigma, that startup.
once you are pro at what you do, learning from the big MNCs and big names, you go into startups and then do your own thing, that what you are good at, and build the startup.
Both have their own pros and cons.
No, but I'm also glad that you guys are not confined to being held up on one organization,
Right.
like a bigger or a smaller. I think that is very important, and while you go out and hire Gen Zs in today's time, it's important that we at our level should also understand that what basically drives you all. So saying that, Gurpreet, I have a question. Since we're talking about Gen Zs and what basically drives them, what do you think is the real motivation when Gen Z is looking out for a role?
For me personally, culture. I
Okay.
mean, I might adjust a few lakhs or on CTC here or there, but I need some good culture that, as we were talking off camera, that, I should be motivated to wake up in the morning and go to the office.
Yeah.
That is very important for me because I get very bored very easily. I don't want that. I mean, now if I have 3 years of experience and I have short stints. So now I want to work in a company for at least 2 years and show some stability because however we talk about it, the other company will look into it.
Yeah.
That this guy has worked 1 year in company for multiple times. So I look for culture now. That okay, I want to stay here. I need good culture. If you give me few thousands less, I'll be okay with that. Just give me good culture.
Okay, so culture drives
Culture,
you.
yeah.
What about you, Anchal?
Yes, I think culture is most important. Also, the leaders, because as you said earlier, that leaders are who makes your career. So I think that's really important because leaders will be your mentors and yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Leaders and the culture. Of course, the money.
Yeah, money.
Yeah, because that's
Yeah,
most
exactly.
important.
Why not?
Yeah.
I'm
Why not?
living in the big cities.
Correct.
I come from very small town and leaving my home behind. What for? It's
Yeah,
for money.
exactly.
So, yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. I would not compromise.
Right. What about you, Ria?
For me, it's fun.
हाँ?
There should be fun in the job.
Yeah.
Like it's not just गए डेस्कटॉप पे काम करके घर वापस. No, not 9 to 5. Should be fun. Activities हो, gathering हो, बातचीत हो, team से तो मिलो. There should be something like that.
Something to connect back to.
What about
Yes.
you?
What about me? I think, there is something called a Maslow's theory of hierarchy, right? All of us have read that there are basic needs that you meet, and then you head towards, by the time you reach my experience and age, I didn't want to say age, but it comes out automatically. By the time you reach that side, you realize you are heading towards self-realization. And self-realization is nothing but finding your ikigai. Kind of
Yes.
looking up to a fact that what is the purpose that drives you. What makes you get out of the bed, like what we were discussing just now. So it had been always that, and I've always picked up things which kind of is different than what I did earlier. Like I was part of BFSI at one point in time, then I did IT services, then moved back to IT product. Then I thought, okay, I've done IT product, let's do travel. So I was instrumental in setting up the second largest travel organization in the world in Bangalore. So I did that. That was the first time I was doing something, bringing something ground up. Did that, and then I also did something which is very different than most people do, having certain experience in industry and part of an aviation industry, moving to consulting,
Right.
and that to business consulting, in which I was on the other side of the table, which is very different. It's like you are rewiring your brain completely. You had been used to a certain power at one point in time, if I can use that word, to be on the other side where you are telling people, okay, please buy this because this is very important. Right? So, it's a very different kind of a ball game altogether. So, I challenge myself, and that's what drives me. I need to challenge myself. I'm here because, to be very honest, this is important for me because, like we were discussing, it's important that if you reach and you gain certain experience, you also share that experiences with other people. And you send the elevator back.
And I believe like for me now money is most important thing.
Correct.
Maybe later it would be something else.
Correct.
So what was your criteria in different eras of your work?
A very interesting
Like
question.
when you started, what was most important? Now, what is most important thing to you?
Okay, so when I started off, you won't believe me. I never looked at my bank account when I started working with Bank of America. I didn't even realize that salary is coming to me or not because I was enjoying my work so much. And I had amazing leaders. I think I looked up to them, and I still look at some of them, and they are still my mentors at one point in time. So that's something which drove me. I won't say, I think God had been extremely kind. I'm not saying I did not negotiate hard for my salary. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying money is not important for me. It is. And I had been a very good negotiator. I'm saying that. But I think at the end of the day, what was important for me had been always around enjoying what I was truly, really enjoying. I had fun. There were people while we were talking about leaders. There were people. I remember I had a boss some time back. He was very tough with me because I was not very good with numbers, and he was a CA CPA, very good with numbers. Okay, and he would look at an Excel sheet and can really find what is the problem, where is the, and what's the solution also. A very solution oriented mindset. I still remember I wouldn't even make out a single difference, and he, with his grit and his resilience on me, changed me to look at things in a perspective. I might not like it at that time, but now when I look in hindsight, I know because of him I could read through so many numbers so quickly and so differently. I could look at data so differently, all thanks to leaders like that. So I think that had been my journey. People liking them, enjoying with them, and having good time.
And as a woman, like, do you think we, as you said, that it's important that you take pause for yourself as well? So, as a woman, like, do you think it's really important, or you can manage both together, or it's that no, you should take break? Like, what's your thought on that? What have you done in your personal life?
I have taken a lot of breaks. I've taken break, joined, because that's me.
Yeah, because today, what I have heard and seen, like people before hiring a woman, they would ask, "What's your marriage plans? What's your planning a child?" So they would hire accordingly. So do
There
you
is
think
biasness.
that's
There
bias.
is a lot of unconscious bias.
Right.
And Gurpreet, since Anchal has brought this up, Gurpreet, do you have any instances in your organization where,
No, see,
or in earlier in as a TA,
Yeah.
rather, I
So
would say.
I'll be very honest. I mean, recently what happened was I was talking to this female candidate and I was asking her about notice period or something like that, and she misunderstood it and she was like, no, I'm not married. I'm not planning to marry. I'm not asking you about marriage or anything. You can calm down. I'm just asking. So there was a stick. I mean, she was worried that I may be judging her or something like that. Being a recruiter, some HR must be judging her like that. But I haven't seen that first-handedly ever so far. That's what.
Yeah. So I think I also feel that way. I'm not saying that I had not inquired
Yeah.
about people's plan for future, but that was never for rejecting someone. I think recruitment had been always a selection or a rejection process.
Right.
But as we were discussing at one point in time, sometimes when we were doing our sessions and classes together, we also understood this very fact that when you are appearing for the interview, it is the interviewee who is also interested in hiring you. Because imagine, they want to close that position.
Right. We also want to get
Yeah,
it
they also want to close that position. They want to hire the best talent from the market. It is very, very clear. So I don't think that had been ever a case where I've rejected someone. But yes, it's important to understand how the plan is for that individual. More from the perspective regarding stability than anything else, than to have the personal biases. And thanks to AI, I think today there are many methods where AI and tech has become part, and
You can eliminate the gender
correct.
altogether. Yeah.
All this, when you talk about AI per se, there are many such tools in which when the throughput comes in, I remember when we started off way back, when the throughput or so many, one application, millions of CVs would come in. You will spend entire day to dice, slice, and finally get 10 or 20. Today AI is doing all that, and they are also taking away the unconscious biasness that is already there. I might not realize it, but I already have that in somewhere here.
Yeah, we unconsciously does that. And recently I was at LinkedIn office also. So that I didn't know that I do sourcing from LinkedIn also, but they do not really have the gender filter.
Yeah.
Naukri has it, but
But
LinkedIn
not
said
LinkedIn.
that we don't have that. We
Yeah.
don't do that.
Yeah.
you will be looking at all the resumes.
Yes.
If you
But
want
do
to
you
hire.
think like people who are not good with resumes, like some of them,
Yeah,
so but they are good candidates.
I judge.
So how do you think like the AI is going to do justice to your job? Do you think it's a
See,
drawback as
when
well?
I get a resume, I mean, when I'm, especially for senior level positions, so some, people with 20 years of experience, they might not have that attractive resumes that
Yeah.
people are building now.
Yes.
But me being from Gen Z, so I have that thing also. I look for attractive resumes, and they have these different fonts and different font sizes or everywhere different. So I sometimes unconsciously we judge and might not call them also. But yeah, when the position is critical, I call every single one of them. Please get it, please get it. So, yeah.
And ma'am, Archna ma'am, how do you think like what has changed in recruiting when you started and now? Has AI doing justice to your job? Is it helping or you like the old fashioned way? When you have
not
to
at all.
when you have to hire for let's say one or two people, not in a bulk, like for a really
Niche skills.
yes. So what do you think? It's better AI or you would go out in the market and do it yourself?
So I see AI is good in doing the transactional work for you, right? So whatever we had been doing earlier when I started off, some decades back, two decades back. So when I started off, things were very different,
Yeah.
right? So I remember feeding every data on my own in Excel. And sometime when I started off, when I was an intern, we did not even have Excel. So I was noting everything down in a register. I've done that also, right? Saying that all this was very much transactional for me. Today, there are tools available where a candidate will come, post for the position or their CV, apply for the position that is there already, and then the data will be automatically generated. And then analytics is done that how many CVs came, how many got shortlisted, how many are actually relevant profiles. There is something called a relevant profiles that we talk in TA. There might be a lot of CVs, but how many are relevant, right? So that I think, of course, the transactional work I would rely on AI more. Gurpreet from TA, what do you feel?
No, I mean the process has always been easier, but you have to do the work that you are doing. The
Yeah.
calling will be you will be doing the
Yeah.
calling, you will be doing the sourcing also, you will be going on LinkedIn and Naukri finding good resumes. So that part I don't think it is going to change anytime soon.
Yeah.
But the part that comes after it, the offering part, the CTC breakup and everything, that is all sorted now. That I just have to put the number and everything comes out and I just send it. So that thing is sorted.
So I to the calling, in our time we would call 100 candidates to get one. Seriously, believe me, 10:1 used to be a very good ratio. Out of 10 profiles, if you get one, you are in a very good space. Right? But perhaps the calling that you people are doing in today's
there are
time.
multiple filters.
Correct.
Yeah. So we put 10 filter and get 15 profiles and 15 will be very relevant.
Correct.
Yeah.
See, so that kind of makes life easy.
Yeah, that does.
है ना?
Alright.
So talking about AI, so what do you think about the chatbot that HR has been using?
So, I'll give you an example how we used to. So, when I was working with IBM, we used to have something called HR help desk, right? So, and there will be a person sitting, and the common question, you will call, and the common question, this guy, day in and day out, he would be answering those questions. But with chatbot, it became so easy that and generally the questions are, generally common questions, right? And with more and more questions coming in, this is also becoming an intelligent tool, right? The more the feed, better the results, correct? So I have realized that chatbot is the best way for any grievance handling to happen, to be very honest. At least regarding all these transactional work that an HR person has to answer every day and every day in and day out, like how many leaves are left, when am I going to get my payroll, why so much is deducted. For some, you might have to refer back to the teams, but for most questions, I think chatbot plays a very important role.
Right, about PF and basic details that
Correct.
either we put it on some facts or something like that, just feed it to the chatbot and you ask a question and that comes out. So it also very company specific also.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, it's very company specific. It can be customized as per the needs that you have. So yeah, I think very interesting interesting tool as such.
Yeah, people I believe they don't use for grievances.
Some of them, yes.
Is there?
Grievance, I would not say grievance with respect to any relationship grievances or problems, but grievances in terms of how many salaries or how many leaves are left.
How many leaves you get in paternity?
Correct.
Maternity,
How many?
basic
Correct. So
questions.
these kind of questions.
Then how about the relationship grievances? Have you
Then
ever?
you contact HRVP then.
Yes.
You contacted her.
No, I'm asking you. Have you faced any problem like where you were not acceptable, like you felt uncomfortable in your workplace, and you couldn't do something about it? Any example? If you
So,
remember?
see, like again, I said there had been multiple such situations, and I'm not saying, being part of corporate world, you go through a lot of situations in which you will not feel comfortable, right? And you might have to also get to a situation where you want to get out of it or resolve it, like we were discussing earlier. Change it, otherwise change it. Correct. So I think what had been extremely, and I'll give you a solution. There are multiple such problems that I faced, where perhaps there in one organization, if I can give an example, there was a leader who was very strong, very good leader. I'm not denying that, no doubt. But then he was not ready to pass on his power to other people who were reporting into him, because at the end of the day, like we were discussing, there has to be some kind of a succession planning that has to happen. So like we were discussing, some kind of succession planning has to happen. That means what kind of growth are you giving to your people who are reporting into you, right? At one point in time, okay, after few days, they'll also reach a certain level, and most important for them, or most